I'm sharing this with you because I saw a video of a young woman who was very distressed and upset at having a disability and having to still live at home. And she's expressing how unfair it was and how it was affecting her deeply, and she felt that she was alone. So I'm epileptic. That means I have seizures. I have grand mal seizures. Those are the stereotypical ones you see depicted on television. So the shaking and losing consciousness. When you have a grand mal seizure, you can defecate on yourself. You can throw up. You can urinate on yourself. Everything goes. I started having seizures when I turned 20, and then I wasn't really acknowledged until I was 21. I went through hell trying to get a neurologist to acknowledge that I was having seizures. I remember the first neurologist I went to was in Bethesda, Maryland, and he kind of laughed in mine and my mother's face and was like, he was more likely to have a seizure than I was. And that was really eye-opening because I'm like, why would you say that? The first time I had a seizure, it was in my sleep, so that's mainly what my seizures are in my sleep. I have nocturnal seizures. The way I had it explained to me is that I am capable of having a seizure while I'm awake, but when I'm asleep, my body just allows it to happen. So I had woke up one morning on the floor, face down in the carpet, and I had threw up, and I was like, that's weird. I felt really sick the rest of the day. I just had a headache, and I pretty much just didn't do much that day. So I didn't know what that was. I don't know why I woke up on the floor. There was no alcohol involved or anything. I just woke up on the floor, and no one even heard me fall either, which is the weird thing. So fast forward to I was working at a grocery store, and I was working pretty long hours. I was working by myself in a deli, and I wasn't getting much sleep at all. And it was a really stressful time in my life. And one day I left work. I got up really early to get my hair braided, and I went to a friend's house. And when I got to the friend's house, she was really pregnant at the time. Like her belly was out there. I remember that. And she was about to get in the shower, and I think I sat down on her bed. I guess at some point I laid down, I went to sleep. And I guess she just hadn't gotten in the shower yet. And when I came to, I just remember sitting on her bed, and I could hear the heavy engines of an ambulance. And I'm just like, that sounds like an ambulance. So I got up and I looked out the window, and I'm like, there's an ambulance here. And she's like, yeah, it's for you. And I'm like, for me? Why would it be for me? She's like, you had a seizure. And I was like, what are you talking about? So I called my mom, and I'm like, I'm scared. Like, what? And she's like, just go to the hospital. Just go to the hospital. Um, so I went, and they were just like, do you have a history of it? I'm like, no. Like, I don't have seizures. And from there on, I'm still having seizures in my sleep. My mother caught a tail end of one day when I was taking a nap. My bed was close to a wall, so she happened to hear me just hit up against the wall. And when she came into my room, I wasn't convulsing anymore, but I was just like, when you come out of a seizure, you're not there. Your heart is racing, and it's like you've been fighting for your life. It's literally the worst feeling ever. I believe I did go to the hospital after that seizure. And that seizure, after that seizure, they did do a spinal tap. And they didn't find anything in the spinal tap. And I continued to have more seizures in my sleep. And my mother was like, you know what, we gotta, we gotta do something about this. This isn't it. So she reached out to Johns Hopkins. I went to go see a neurologist at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And he was like, yeah, you're having seizures. This is grand mal seizures, and it's the worst you could have. And okay, we're gonna put you on some medicine. They put me on medicine that never controlled it. I was on Lamictal. I wasn't even on that much Lamictal. I think I was on 200 milligrams of Lamictal, and it made me feel extremely, extremely slow. I don't know what it is in the Lamictal. It messed up my comprehension. So someone could tell me something, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can hear them, but it wasn't going through my brain, and I was just like, wow, it's not registering. And it affected my work because I tried to fake it as much as I could, but then I can't. So I used to I tell employers now, hey, I'm epileptic, so Like sometimes I'm gonna buffer, and like when I say buffer, it's just like it might take me a second. Like if you tell me something, like I can hear you, but it might take me a second to like have it go through the process. And like, okay, I'm picking up what you're saying. Um, Epilepsy is hard. I'm now 39. I started having seizures when I was 20. The neurologist at Johns Hopkins was basically like, my connections came together incorrectly. So basically, the brain is still developing until you're 21. And when all of my connections came together, they didn't come together correctly. So that's why I have seizures, and that I will not grow out of them because I grew into them, which is horrible to hear. I am grateful that I finally did get a diagnosis, but then I worry about just the damage is done to my brain. Because for so long, I wasn't on any medications, and my nocturnal seizures have never left. They are not as frequent. Before I was put on medication, my body would hurt, my thighs mainly. My thighs would feel like someone beat me with like a bat or a hammer. My thigh muscles would hurt so bad, and I would just have really bad headaches, and all I could do was just sleep after a seizure. So I don't have that anymore. And the main way I know I'm still having nocturnal seizures is because I will wake up and I've forgotten a lot of things. I will forget passwords. I will forget how to type. I had a data entry job right before COVID. And because I tell anyone that hires me, I'm epileptic. Like, bear with me. I'm not epileptic enough, unfortunately, to apply for disability because I'm still able. I just got a little bit of this. So I'm not, it's weird. But yeah, the data entry job, I had a seizure, and I went to work and I couldn't type. Like, you know how you line your fingers up on ASD, JK? Yeah, couldn't type. I went to go type, and then everything was just wrong, and I'm like, Lord. And I told my manager, like, hey, I had a seizure, and I can't, like, I'm not computing today. And she was just like, okay. So she was understanding. She's like, well, just go do, like, some BS work then. But I didn't want to be labeled as like the problem or a liability. So I was like, no, I'm going to do my job. And I did it, and I made 82 errors that day. Because someone was checking my work, and they came back and they brought me the 82 errors. But with those 82 errors, it was just, I had put the same zip code for 82 entries, and I didn't put the correct zip code. But I did mess up the money, so I'll give myself credit there. But it's things like that. I'll wake up and I'll forget passwords. I'll forget words. I don't forget how to speak, but I'll struggle. Like I could be in a conversation, and I'll just be like, what is that word? And it could be so simple. I'll forget people's names completely. I'll just be looking at people like, what is their name? Like, why do I not know your name? And I mean, it'll come back, depending on how horrible the seizure was. It'll come back in like maybe a day or two, and sometimes a little bit longer. I haven't had a grand mal seizure while I was awake for years. Thank God. The last time I had a grand mal seizure while I was awake was in 2012, 2013. I threw myself into a brick wall, and I gashed my head, and I had to get staples. That was a very, very long seizure. In that seizure, I pretty much just stopped breathing, and I would probably have died then because if my mother wasn't there, then I would have died. I had just taken out the trash, and for some reason I didn't close the door, and when I fell, my mother heard it, and she came out and helped me, and she says that the seizure just went on forever. Like, it just seemed like it wasn't going to stop, and when it finally did the convulsing, and then when it finally did, she said, sorry, something just flew in my head. She said, as soon as I stopped convulsing, she said, I just wasn't breathing. And her job involved her knowing CPR and all those things. So she said she just moved my head, and I guess maybe it was my tongue blocking my airway, and then she said I started breathing again. I remember kind of coming out of that seizure, but then I do remember kind of going back into one, but my mom kept talking to me, and I didn't go back into another seizure. That was the longest time I've ever waited for an ambulance too. Like, I guess it was a busy night. because I laid there for the longest with my head bleeding. I lost a really good hoodie that night. I love that hoodie. My mom had used the hood of that hoodie to put pressure on the gash in my head. So there was no saving that hoodie. That hoodie was just drenched in blood, like to the point like if you would like it was done. When the paramedics finally did come, they were super rude and aggressive. Because when you come out of grand mal seizure, you really are out of breath. Like it's like, like it feels like you've been running. The only way I can explain a grand mal seizure, and I even hate talking about them because they're just so horrific. It's like getting hit by a train. That's how I feel grand mal seizures are. It's like getting hit by a train, and when you didn't expect it, like you were just minding your business and you just get hit by a train. And then coming out of a seizure is just even more dramatic, like being pushed out of an airplane, and then you hit the ground and it's like, like that's how it is to just come out of a grand mal seizure. It's horrible, and I'm so grateful I don't have them while I'm awake anymore. But it's just whatever. So I was still hyperventilating and just not calmed when the EMTs came, and this guy just threw an oxygen mask on my face and was just like, calm down, just very insensitive. And then, mind you, I have a head injury. I'm bleeding. They didn't bring a stretcher for me. They made me walk to the ambulance. And that is probably the worst seizure I've ever had in my life. And it might be because I also hit my head. I was so weak after that seizure. Like after a grand mal seizure, I feel like my head is like, you know that when you like go into certain stores and it's like a buzzing sound in the air, like, that's what I feel like my brain is after like a grand mal seizure, just like, and I just felt so weak, like just a piece of paper, like a leaf falling from the sky, just so weak. And when we got to the hospital, it must have just been a really bad night of things happening in the ER. I wasn't even in a room. So I got my head stapled. They gave me 8 staples to my head, like in the hallway. Like I didn't even get into a room. And that was just horrible. It took me days to recover from that seizure. I eventually got off Lamictal. I had to ask to get taken off Lamictal because it wasn't working. Then I was prescribed Keppra. Keppra worked. But Keppra, which my neurologist told me, the side effect for Keppra was irritability. But it was really bad irritability. Like, when I took Keppra, gosh, I want to say like 30 minutes after taking it, everything was irritating. Everything was irritating. Like the sky, the breeze, just everything. Everything was annoying and just super, super irritating. The only way I can describe it is if like how men act when they take steroids and they're just aggressive. I was never like, it wasn't like I was like physically aggressive to people. I had to like tell myself to be nice in certain situations, like be nice, because I was just so like, like Keppra was just bad. I lost a job when I was on Keppra because it was a call center job, and they didn't say I was rude. They were just like, your calls are getting shorter, because I was just very to the point. Like, okay, this is the number you need to call. It was just bad. And I probably could have fought that and been like, hey, like, it's my medication. But I just left. I got off Keppra, and now I'm on Briviact. And I still don't take that much seizure medication. I'm not on a high dosage. But the Briviact does seem to work. The only thing about Briviact is that it's its own thing. There is no generic for Briviact, and Briviact is the sister of Keppra, is how my neurologist explained it to me. So there's still a teensy bit of irritability with the Briviact, but it's nowhere near as bad as the Keppra. But I am still having seizures in my sleep. I still have nocturnal grand mal seizures. And I know because I can't function the next day, or I just can't remember things. Or I feel extremely tired, or I will feel like I've been throwing up all night. I don't know, you could look it up on YouTube or whatever. Sometimes when people have grand mal seizures, they'll like yelp, like, oh, like they'll make a noise or something before they have a seizure, because all your muscles are convulsing. So some people will like holler or make some type of vocal sound when they have a grand mal seizure. So I think it's just from my throat just opening and closing it. I'll just feel like when I wake up in the morning, I'll feel like I've been throwing up, or I'll just feel gaggy. And that's what I'll be like, okay, I had a seizure. But I had a seizure study in 2020 where they basically just took me off my medication and watched me have seizures. So they hooked me up with all the little electrodes on my head in hopes that I would have a seizure so they could see what side, if anywhere, like my brain would light up and they'd be like, okay, well, this is where the seizures are. This is where the seizures are coming from. But when I first went to Johns Hopkins, my neurologist had me getting MRI. I think I got like 2 MRIs a year. And I saw him for a good 10 years. And he said there's nothing on my brain. There's no blur. There's no... So they just call it generalized seizures, which just means it affects my entire brain. Like it's not just one little spot. Some people that have seizures will have a huge spot on their brain when they do an MRI. But okay, well, that's the problem. And those are the people who get to get brain surgery and have that part removed. And then sometimes they don't have seizures anymore, but I don't have that option. So, yeah. But when they did the sleep study, I pretty much told myself I was not going to have a grand mal seizure, and I pretty much like really didn't sleep. I was really terrified of having a grand mal seizure. Even though I was in a hospital setting, I didn't want to have a grand mal seizure because I remember them, even though it was years ago that I've had one while I was awake. I didn't want to have one. I just kept telling myself, like, do not have a grand mal seizure. Do not have a grand mal seizure. So the neurologist kept coming in the morning being like, you're not sleeping. And I'm like, no, I'm not sleeping. I don't want to have a grand mal. I didn't tell him that, but I was telling myself, like, I don't want to have a grand mal seizure. Like, they are nightmares. I don't want to. So with that being said, the neurologist came in one morning and was like, you just had a seizure. And I was like, I was awake. And he was like, I know. And I'm like, what are you saying? He's like, you have absence seizures. I'm like, great. So I had kind of noticed when I had the data entry job that I was losing time. Like I had been typing, and then it seemed like I just stopped typing. And then I would just go back to typing. So I'm like, am I losing time? Like, am I just stopping and not realizing it? So he was like, yeah, you had a seizure. It lasted for like 2 minutes. And I'm like, great. So now I have absence seizures. And those are just daydreaming. I don't lose consciousness or anything. If I'm not doing anything, I'll just go off somewhere and then I'll come back. So that sucks. But I know there's people out there that have seizures that are just uncontrollable and just way, way worse and way more impactful to their lives. But if there is someone out there that is feeling like stuck or trapped by their disability, you're not alone. I'm still at home. And it is fear because I am an only child as well. So there's that component, and it's like, I don't want to move out and then I have a seizure and then they just find me dead, because I feel like that would really hurt my mom. But it is hard, especially to have a neurological issue, because it's just like, why are you betraying me, brain? Like, what do you mean you're just gonna shut off whenever you feel like it, or just start misfiring? Like, it's crazy. I do want to live by myself. The only time that I did move out was for college, and even then I had roommates, so I don't know. But yes, if you're out there somewhere on this floating planet, and yeah, it's hard. It is hard having a disability. It is. But you're not alone. There's a lot of people all over the world with disabilities or hidden disabilities, because no one knows I have seizures unless I tell them, now that I don't have them while I'm awake. But it is hard. It is hard. But I do want to move out. I do. But there is that chance that something could go wrong and no one is there to, as my mom did, turn my head and make sure I continue to breathe. So, but everybody has something. So just because you have a disability, everyone has something that they're struggling with, okay? God is good. And just keep pushing. And I pray for healing. Like, I'm always like, please just take this away. Like, I really don't want this. I really, really don't want this. Like, this is a problem. But God is good. It could always be worse. Okay? And you're not alone. So if you're still at home, living with your parents with a disability, it's okay. Look at it this way. There's some people who have disability and don't have any parents. They have no help. They are homeless with a disability, no medication and no support. So at least you have shelter, you have medication and support. Please let me know what your disability is if you feel like sharing that, or just if this helped you in any way. All right, take care. Jesus loves you.